Hi, this is the Autistic Mandolinist, and today I have something just a little bit different. Which seems like something I say every time. Well, I guess if I'm intentionally making a video, it's because it's different. But today is actually different. This is a D'Andrea Pro Plec pick. Like many of you, this was the first real pick that I had. I started out with some floppy guitar picks when I was very first playing mandolin because that's what I was familiar with. But the first teacher I had said, nah, that's not acceptable. You need to use something a little bit heavier, and turned me on to these. They're cheap, they're more or less good, and well, yeah, there's a lot of great things that you can say about Pro Plec picks, especially when the next great jump is into something like a blue chip, which is going to set you back a whole lot of these. So today, we're going to look at something that I use with these Pro Plec picks to make them just a little bit better. They're great, but they are very thick and very rounded, and so there is a lot of surface to pass the strings as you're playing. So for years now, when I do use a Pro Plec, I've moved on, definitely mostly use blue chip and tone slabs, but when I do use a Pro Plec, I put bevels on them, speed bevels, and I have a very particular way that I do it. So today I'm going to talk about the way that I do it, and then I'm going to give you some sound examples of what it sounds like when I use my beveled version as opposed to this version right here. So stick along, and we'll go through the process that I use to put bevels on these, and yeah. And then we'll have some sound samples. So if you're mostly interested in what it sounds like to use one of these, skip to the end. So these are the D'Andrea Pro Plec 1.5 millimeter picks that I use as the base. I, a long time ago, bought a big box of them, I think on Amazon, and I add the bevels to them as I need them, and so I'm going to go through how I do that. As far as tools, I have these two emery boards that I got from, I think I got them from Sally. This one, the Puriphiles Flowery. It's a really stiff grit. I'd say it's like a 80, maybe 100 grit if you were looking at sandpaper. And then I want to say this is like a 250, but I use this one first, and then this. And then I have this 6 area, I don't even know what I would call it. It's everything from I want to say this is like 150, 200 grit, all the way to what feels like leather, even though I'm pretty sure it's just some kind of tight foam. And those are the primary tools that I use for putting the bevels on these Pro Plecs. I use what I originally, when I first started doing this, saw listed as a right-hand bevel. So when you hold the pick, it's the corners that are facing this way on the left side of what you're holding. So it would be this corner, and then turn, and this corner, and turn, and this corner. And you have a lot of opportunity to see that over and over and over again. As we do this, I'll try to speed each of these up. So I always start on the non-gold side, and I rotate counterclockwise as I go through the corners, and I start with, of course, the most gritty of the emery boards. I try to keep, I don't know what this angle is, probably something like a 15-20 degree angle. We're looking at, I don't even know what that angle would be. Yeah. Not sharp like a carving knife, or not sharp like a kitchen knife, but not as blunt either as, say, an axe, somewhere about halfway in between. So not a 45-degree angle, and not the like 8 to 15 degree angle of a kitchen knife, but somewhere in between. So I'd say 20 to 25 degrees. And again, going to hold it. I tend to come from this side, from this way into the angle, rather than coming along the angle, partly because I want to make sure that the cut is even, but also that it cuts along this way on that corner and doesn't miss the bevel as it goes around the corner. And so we're just going to do that on each of these sides. And for our first cut, hopefully you can see that. That's about what I'm looking for right there. You can see. So I'll take and move to the next one. Again, that's just about what I'm looking for. So we'll move on again. Okay, so that's the first side with the first indication of the bevels on them. They'll go down just a little bit from there, but mostly they'll be getting smoother and cleaner. Okay, so we flip to the logo side now. Same deal. So those bevels on the other side are here. We're staying still on that left side, and so they'll go here, making a bevel this way and a bevel this way. Sometimes the corners just don't want to behave the way I want them to, and that's fine. These don't have to be perfect. This isn't rocket science. We're just making the edges thinner so that the period of contact is less as we move through the strings. Okay, I would say that's pretty good for the initial bevels on this side, and you can see, I think if I turn it this way, how we're beveled this way and then we're beveled this way, which gives us a really interesting but very nice moment of contact on the strings. Okay, so that's the first. I went through my roughest emery board, and now I go to my next one. This is the one that I estimated is 200, 250-ish. And go through. Oh, wrong side. So again, starting on the back, just to make sure I get all the sides. I always start on the back, go around all three, and then go to the front and go around all three. And I'm keeping to that exact same bevel, to the same angle. And with the goal with this one, again, not going for perfect, but we're removing all of the, what I would call tool marks from that first emery board. We want to take those deep gouges in there and just smooth them out. So it's still going to be kind of a milky looking surface on the bevel. And that'll be just fine. We'll get that polished beautifully clean. It's still pretty good. I see that when I was using the stiffer emery board, I changed my angle a little bit. You want to keep the angle of the emery board to the pick consistent regardless of where you are, so that bevel forms one plane, even though it's going around a curve. And you can see I actually have two bevels going on there because of having changed my angle before, and I think that's good. It comes down a little bit sharper than I would want, but that'll be fine. You may notice as you're going that the very edges are starting to get sharp. We will deal with those with just a tiny bit of rounding as we start moving through the finer and finer braids. So I don't usually start on number one, mostly because my number one here is completely trashed. There are a couple sections where I still have a little bit of texture on the number two, and I tend to just go through with the number two, which is really about the same as that rainbow emery board, but I just go through and do a real quick on each one of those 6 edges. Moving on to side number 4 now. This is where I'm going to start at the very tip, just rocking back a little bit every couple strokes, just to start to take the edge off of that, what's starting to be very sharp and super deformable. Okay, so here we have gone through all 6 sides, adding bevels here and then here to make the edge as momentary as we can, to make that contact as we play as momentary as we can. And yeah, there you go. That is my technique for putting bevels on these D'Andrea Pro Plec 1.5 millimeter picks, and hopefully, whether you enjoyed this demonstration or not, hopefully it's useful for you. So hopefully you enjoyed seeing the process that I go through in putting bevels on my Pro Plec picks. I have, of course, the blank one that I showed you starting out, and then I have the new beveled one that we just went through the process and made. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to play some sound samples. I don't know what I'm going to play, some scales, maybe a fiddle tune or something, and I will play the first version of each one will be the Pro Plec as they come from the the bag that they were all shoved in that I got from Amazon, and then the beveled one. So I'll trade off between them. And the first, of course, is the unbeveled. Okay, so that is without the bevel. And that is with the bevel. Again, without the bevel. With the bevel. Bevel. With the bevel. With the bevel. And finally, with the bevel. Yeah. So hopefully that sound sample gave you an opportunity to hear what the difference is between the unbeveled and the beveled version of the Pro Plecs. I find that the Pro Plecs give me a lot better definition per note. They're a little brighter, they're a little cleaner, they're a little clearer, my tone is easier. But you just heard, what do you think? Would you, if you were using a Pro Plec, would you rather have the unbeveled or the beveled version? Let me know in the comments.